So you left SimpleGeo like 2 months ago.
Yeah, been about 2 months now.
What have you been doing since then?
A whole lot of nothing.
Awesome.
I've tried to relax. I've tried to step back and just kind of take time for myself, and it's actually been very good, very rewarding, just kind of taking care of a lot of loose ends in my life and things like that, and taking vacation, honestly.
And SimpleGeo had been going on, you'd been doing that for about 2 years?
Yeah, a little over 2 years, actually.
And you left it in Jay's hands?
I did. We had brought on Jay about a year ago, and he had just done a fantastic job as CEO, and it got to the point where my day-to-day contribution was no longer as needed as it had been, and so rather than kind of drag it out and spend time and just kind of frankly suck the payroll down, I would have much rather I'd have much rather stepped aside, continue to be an advisor, continue to work with the company, but kind of think about where I may be headed next, what I can think of, what things I'm interested in and excited about. So,
and where do you leave SimpleGeo? What's their status right now?
So, developers are just continuing to flock to it. We've got tons of great new tools that are on the way, and then we're continuing to add to this fantastic platform that had already been built.
Can you explain what SimpleGeo
Absolutely. So SimpleGeo, at its most basic form, is a set of tools that make it easier for developers to add location functionality to applications. So anybody that's looking to use a GPS coordinate in any way, shape, or form can go to SimpleGeo and find all kinds of great tools to make that GPS.
And at the core of it is kind of a cloud service where they can store their data, and then you have tools that allow you to access that data. So there's also a storage layer built into it, and the database, search and public data sets.
The database portion was actually really significant because we had created this whole new kind of database that allowed us to store data very rapidly, lots of data, and be able to get it back very quickly. And so, not only was this a massive amount of data, but it was also very quick response times. And so for a developer wanting to do anything with location, they don't have to worry about any of the crap that comes along with making location actually work.
Now, are you still focused solely on location, or have you expanded out to more general developer cloud tools?
Right now, SimpleGeo is kind of focused on just location, but definitely looking to expand, kind of the thoughts. Our original intention with the company was to make it easier for developers to create, and so wherever that actually leads is kind of wherever the company decides to take it next.
Fair enough. So what is the customer base? Is it primarily, I've always pictured you guys as like a mobile developer, one-stop shop. I'm a lone developer. I write the client app. I need a web service to hit. I don't want to deal with web servers. I source that out to SimpleGeo, or at least a lot of it.
Yep. The client base is certainly part of that. We have a lot of developers that are just looking to build stuff, and so we got a lot of people that are playing around. Sometimes they're developers at big companies. Sometimes they're Blink 182 that just launched a project on our platform.
Awesome.
It was kind of interesting. Their new album is called Neighborhoods, and so the concept was you'd log into their website, you'd get into a listening room, and the listening room was populated by people in your neighborhood, which was powered by SimpleGeo. So all kinds of different interesting use cases.
Cool. And now that you've been out of there for 2 months, what's exciting you now?
There's a lot of cool stuff happening, a lot of innovation. Mobile just continues to drive most of where my brain is kind of thinking about the next problem set. But I think that there are a lot of really interesting problems right now that still have yet to be tackled. And I think that wherever I end up conceptually, it'll probably be somewhere around mobile, or at least a very person-centric kind of play. I think that what I learned from SimpleGeo was that while I love all the working with developers and building big platforms and things like that, I think that my wheelhouse is much more fit in the consumer arena, where I'm actually creating things that people touch every day.
So back to social thing, back to the original idea when you and Joe got together with Crash Core,
right? Where
you were trying to make geo games, and that morphed into the platform.
Exactly.
And so the topic of the town, where does Siri both surprise and delight, and yet disappoint?
Siri, I've been spending a couple days with it, and I think that a lot of people, when they first looked at it, they're like, oh great, some superfluous feature that they could add just to kind of try and impress people. But I think that a lot of the pundits haven't used it, and that's what I think as soon as you use it, your mind completely changes. I think that just the simple things for me, like saying, set an alarm for 6 a.m.
Yep.
It's like, that would have taken me at least, 2-3x more time to do that task if I couldn't just, say what I wanted to do.
Easily, yeah.
And, things like find me the best Italian restaurant in my neighborhood right now. That's pretty cool.
I wanted to do more. I mean, we were talking about this before. I wanted
Completely
to be my
agree.
command line for the phone.
For a 1.0, it's pretty impressive.
Yep.
They've done a lot. A lot of people were complaining that it didn't integrate with Twitter. I posted a tweet, if you add Twitter as a contact in your address book and use the short code, it works, right? It got retweeted like 250 times. So I guess people really wanted to tweet from Siri. But I think that where it can go next, it's just the sky's the limit. If they begin to integrate things like an API, right? So if I could plug in to Siri as an API, just how impressive that could be. Like, Siri, order me a pizza with sausage and have it delivered in 2 hours. Or Siri, get me a cab. Or, find out if this flight is delayed. As many different things as it can do. The amount of steps required to get to those end results, we don't think about it too much now because it's what's required. But if through natural language, we can process through those things much faster.
So do you think they're going to end up having an open API, or do you think they'll end up selecting partners? So in the case of, for facts and trivia and math and mathematics and whatever, they have Wolfram Alpha.
Right.
For finding local restaurants, they use Yelp. Everything else is a stock Apple app or stock iPhone app, and then there's web search, which is I kind of view as a stock app. You're basically just launching that query. So I question whether or not, especially initially, if they'll launch an API, because then you get into these weird intents. Like, which music player do you play?
Right.
Like, would they ever let you play Pandora over the iPod?
I think that there are ways that you can solve that. I think that it will be a lesser experience. I think that you'll say, Pandora, play. And so you'll have to actually initiate your action maybe by the name of the app. I was thinking about this because I use a groceries app called Groceries IQ, and I don't use the reminders app for groceries. And so, if I wanted to say, remind me to pick up eggs, it's going to go into the reminders app. But if I said, Grocery IQ, remind me to pick up eggs, it would launch the app and then do whatever task I needed to. But I agree. I'm not sure that they can really, or creating an open and completely open API for this will be very difficult. I wouldn't put it past being an iOS 6, though.
Yeah. I think I see them expanding it in the direction they have it right now.
Yeah.
Until I've been kind of looking at this, like this Fancy Hands, which is a personal service, Tasker on Android, as part of the new task-oriented internet. Instead of what can I do with technology, is what can technology do for me?
Yep.
And that's I see Siri as kind of the next step in that direction.
It's, Steve Jobs did one amazing thing with the phone, which was eliminate the physical keyboard, right? And now he's doing the next step, which is eliminating the virtual keyboard.
Yeah, so he hates that one button.
Yeah, it's like, you have one button. If you can have no buttons, even better.
Well, cool. Just to wrap it up, how do you find the tech scene different in SF versus your former home of Boulder?
It's been interesting to see the differences between the two. Boulder is a much tighter knit community. It's a smaller town, so it makes it a little bit easier. But everybody's much more active with each other. You go to all of the events. There's so many events. Open Coffee. You have Boulder Denver New Tech Meetup, which is bigger than the San Francisco New Tech Meetup. It's just like incredibly active community, very tight knit. Everybody knows each other, and that's great. Here, I think you just have a population problem. There's just so many people. If you had a copy of that exact same environment, you wouldn't feel the same. You would feel too big and things like that. And I think San Francisco is a great place. It's a very different environment, though. And people, while they are very, competitive, they do, come together, but it tends to be around very task-related things. It's like, okay, we have this problem with this database. Let's set up a meetup to put our minds together and come up with something. And less, let's all grab coffee together on every other Tuesday and just chat about the world. It's like in Boulder, there's very much that friendly competition kind of thing, and there's not a whole lot of competitors in Boulder with each other. So that could certainly be a part of it. But it's been interesting to watch.
Now, if you were to start something new, would you do it in SF? Or would you consider going back to Boulder?
I would do it here.
Okay.
At least for the next couple companies, I'll probably build them here. The amount of people that I can, the size of the talent pool that I can pull from is fairly large. And having been lucky enough to have 2 successful companies on my resume, my ability to get talented people, frankly, is I have an edge over maybe some others. And so, you know, if I have the edge, and as long as I have the edge, I'll probably stay here. You know, the amount of amplification you get from just being in San Francisco and Silicon Valley is pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Matt.
Absolutely.